The December 1st, 2025 legislative session of the Anne Arundel County Council is called to order. Please ensure all phones and electronic devices are set to silent. Please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Please pray according to your custom as I pray according to mine. Dear God, as we go through this holiday season, open our hearts to those most in need and assistance. May we provide food for those who are hungry, shelter for those who are cold, and serve others in this time of giving. Guide our actions tonight that we may best use our resources to serve the most vulnerable in our county with compassion, and that we may bring joy to others now and throughout the year. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, please read the ethics statement.
The Ethics Commission has asked that I advise you that under certain circumstances, members of the public may qualify as lobbyists when they testify before the County Council. If so, the law requires that certain information be filed with the Ethics Commission. The chair of the Ethics Commission has asked that those who wish to testify in any form review the general information on lobbying sheet located on the Ethics website under Forms and Publications. If there are any questions about lobbying requirements, please contact the Ethics Commission at 410-222-4412.
At this time, we have a couple of special citations, so I'm going to turn it over to Councilwoman Fiedler and Mr. Councilmember Smith. Whoever wants to go first.
So we have a special tribute here. For those that don't know, everyone on this council has someone who is a part of their staff. We have a legislative aide who contributes significantly to our success, as well as to the success of various districts here in Anne Arundel County. And quite frankly, if it was not for our legislative aides, we would not be as generous with our time and everything else, because they're taking care of that hard work when it comes to constituent services, helping us with legislations in some capacities, attending various community meetings. And so we wanted to do something special for at least our legislative aides, primarily because they've reached a significant milestone. For those that don't know, in District 1, my legislative aide is Linda Harris, and she has eclipsed a milestone that is very significant. And she has today, or not today, it was actually reached her 30th anniversary working for Anne Arundel County government. And so I don't know if you all know how long that is, but 30 years is a long time to be servicing the public and servicing the county. And so we certainly wanted to give her a huge round of applause. But before we do that, I know there's another aide who also reached a significant milestone, and then we'll read the citation to tell you how special they really are.
Thank you. So in true form, in wanting to be the support behind the scenes, our aides are working diligently in their respective offices right now, but they know that we are presenting these publicly, and they are so appreciative. Pam Scarborough has been my aide since my first term, and she not only served me in District 5, but she has served previous council member in District 5 and another council member in District 7, as well as worked in different county agencies, brings such life to the council office with her humor in tough times and due diligence and just really, really hard work. So I'm thrilled to be able to recognize her publicly on the record here this evening. And with that, Pete, would you like to read your citation first?
Gracefully worked for this county for 30 years is an incredible milestone. The Anne Arundel County Council would like to recognize her hard work and dedication, and we are grateful for her commitment and valuable contributions that make not just my citizens, quite frankly, I think Linda has also helped other legislative aides over that last 30 years and citizens of Anne Arundel County. And to this council office, thank you and congratulations. She is certainly a diamond in the rough, and I'm grateful that she has graced at least District 1 with her time and her energy, and I'm just proud to be a person who has stood in her shadows to operate in this capacity. So thank you, Linda, for being who you are.
And this citation is presented to Pamela Scarborough. The Anne Arundel County Council recognizes and celebrates your 25 years of service, hard work, professionalism, and dedication, supporting 4 council members in 2 districts, in addition to the greater county and other agencies and capacities. This incredible milestone is a testament to the invaluable service you have provided in so many ways. You add joy and life to the workplace, and the County Council sincerely thanks and congratulates you on this day.
Madam Chair, we are having visual issues with our Arundel TV. They need to reboot, so it might behoove us if we just take a few minutes while they do that and then
Okay, we're going to
continue.
take a couple of minutes to reboot, and while we do that, we have flowers for Pam and Linda that we'll make sure they get. So. We are back and on television. Here we go. All right, we will now conduct our annual election of chair and vice chair. May I please have a motion to suspend Rule 4104 to introduce and vote on Resolution Number 3525 out of order?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the motion to suspend Rule 4104 to introduce and vote on Resolution Number 3525 out of order.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to suspend Rule 4104 has passed.
Madam Secretary, please read the Resolution Number 3525.
Resolution number 3525, resolution electing a chair and vice chair of the County Council. Whereas Section 302A of the Anne Arundel County Charter provides that the County Council at its regular session in December of each year shall elect a chair and vice chair from its membership. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of Anne Arundel County, Maryland, that it hereby elects Julia K. Hummer to be chair of the County Council, and be it further resolved that it hereby elects Peter I. Smith to be vice chair of the County Council.
Would any council member like to make a statement? Ms. Pickard?
Oh,
No. Okay. All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on, Ms.
Would this be inappropriate? No, I,
Yeah. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution Number 3525.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution number 3525 has been adopted.
There we go. Congratulations, Mr. Smith. So, and Ms. Rodvian? I think.
thank you very much. And actually, I'd like to take a moment to recognize our current and forward-going chair. I'm going to do this right here instead of going down
Okay.
there. The whole council is very appreciative of the hard work that you've done. I think a lot of folks probably have no idea how much goes on behind the scenes in terms of preparation for our meetings, in terms of getting everything ready, in terms of, communicating with the different parties. Not to mention that over the past year, we have had a number of internal changes trying to build out our council, to modernize our council, and we are so appreciative of the wonderful job that you've done in terms of, helping lead those changes at the same time as really taking and listening and valuing the input of your colleagues. So it is my honor to present to you this beautiful plaque with your very own gavel for your service over the last year from December 2nd, 2024 to December 1st, 2025. And I think you'll get a matching one in about a year from now.
There we go.
So could we give our chair a round of applause?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you, Ms. Rodvian, for serving as a vice chair this year. It was a pleasure to work with you. Very helpful. So, all right, let's move on. Before we open our discussions and public hearings, I would like to remind everyone in attendance, whether testifying or as a member of the audience, that we must maintain decorum at all times within these chambers. Please understand that individual conversations in the audience are very disruptive to the proceedings, and I would kindly ask you to step out of the chambers if a side discussion is necessary. We will now open our invitation to the audience. This is an opportunity to speak briefly on any subject not included in the printed agenda. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, we received 2 pieces which were shared with the council, added to the record, and posted to the website.
Okay. We will now call on individuals who signed up ahead of the meeting. When I call your name, please come up to the table and have a seat. When it's your turn, state your name and address for the record. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Please listen for the buzzer and respect the 2-minute time limit, as others are signed up to speak. If you have more than 2 minutes to share, I'm going to ask you to submit your additional thoughts using our online testimony tool. Cindy Helgeson, Beverly Rucker, and Kyle Nimhard. And if there's anyone else who wants to speak on an item not on the agenda, you may come up at this time as well. Mr. Nimhard, you can go right ahead.
Kyle Nemhard, Glen Burnie, Maryland. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the County Council. Madam Chair, I came down here to say happy anniversary. It's our anniversary. Your first meeting as chair, my first meeting participating in public testimony, so happy anniversary. I also wanted to acknowledge the anniversary of when Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to move to the back of the bus. And just like her arrest had agitated the African American community that led to the civil rights movement, so too has the recent proposal by Milton Horn and the Nixon property agitated the Freetown community. The source of consternation is literally one provision in Bill 1924. Actually, it's just one line. It removes the requirement of having direct access to an adequate roadway to attain density bonuses. If I were a developer, that would be one little line I would love to slip into legislation to increase my bottom line. If you were to ask someone coming into this situation cold, I can say with confidence that they would find it logical that density bonuses are inappropriate for a property that is not accessible by an adequate roadway. The council's apparent collective complacency in the situation to date facilitates the parallel of how diverse middle-class neighborhoods were destroyed by urban renewal and expansion of freeways in urban areas. Not to sound hyperbolic. Construction of those freeways enabled developers to build on cheaper land outside the city. Do you really think we'd have the development we have today without I-97, I-95, and I-695? Now we're just changing the rules. Instead of laying down slabs of concrete, we're just proclaiming that square pegs can be forced into round holes. I'm just asking the County Council, can we revisit a single line in Bill 1924 and revise it? It's just one line with more than enough justification backed by common sense and logic. Bill 1725 attempted to do this, but as I've said in previous testimonies, we just haven't had the adequate dialogue for the discussion. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Nimhard. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Cindy Helgeson. I live at 1720 Vineyard Trail in Annapolis. Good evening to everyone. I would like to petition the council to create tighter restrictions for short-term rentals in the county. There are several neighborhoods in Anne Arundel County that have problems with this situation, especially those on water that sometimes look like a vacation resort. It's continuing to exacerbate the housing shortage since investors buy up properties to use the short-term rentals and can often outbid local families looking for their primary house. So we have a great example in the state of Maryland with Montgomery County. They have something on the books that would be a pretty liberal option. That is, there's no investor properties allowed to be short-term rentals. It's only your primary house rented less than 6 months out of the year. Other restrictions like no ADU rentals, and everything, of course, has to be registered and taxed according to the rules. There certainly are more restrictive options, like some major metropolises that only allow short-term rentals if the owner is in the property. So a basement or a room is fine, but there's no other situations. But the biggest is to get rid of that problem of people buying investment properties and then Airbnb or VRBO. It's become a problem in my neighborhood, and that would get rid of at least 50% of the problem right there. And a lot of us want our neighbors to have income opportunities, but we also don't want short-term renters in the neighborhood. So I'm just asking that we explore this further and look for opportunities to restrict it so it doesn't get any more out of hand than it already is. I think it would be very popular with your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Helgeson. May I lean over?
I'll just move.
Members of County Council, I appreciate the opportunity to address you this evening, specifically about fast food drive-thrus, a business that has experienced radical changes and growth in recent years. My concern is traffic studies are using outdated data to forecast vehicles. Maryland's first drive-through fast food establishment, a Chick-fil-A, is being proposed in Arnold. Since drive-thrus are magnets for traffic and congestion, the traffic study has been given much weight. Unfortunately, it is seriously flawed. For the proposed development, the projected number of vehicles was calculated using data from 5 existing Chick-fil-A's, but those drive-through counts were conducted in 2016 and 2019, prior to in-house delivery, third-party services such as DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and most importantly, prior to the pandemic, which drastically altered the drive-through. Fast food drive-through sales in 2022 showed a 30% increase from 2019 pre-pandemic levels, per the New York Times. And with new technology, those numbers continue to soar. The other concern is the pass-by rate, the percentage of times when trips on the road were already happening, so it didn't count another car. The proposed development used percentage decreases, 50% in the morning, 55% in the evening. In other words, the projected car counts were cut in half. How do we come up with those percentages? Through surveys that were conducted between 1993 and 1996. We are relying on 30-year-old data to determine how can we determine if a bypass rate is 55% or 5% until we fully understand a delivery-centric, drive-through only operation in a post-pandemic 21st century world. Otherwise, the number is completely arbitrary. Allowing the use of archaic data and traffic studies does nothing to help us see and navigate the future. It merely checks off a box to greenlight a project. This is unacceptable and short-sighted. I respectfully ask the Anne Arundel County Council to impose a moratorium on all future drive-thrus while we update our traffic study guidelines and codes to better reflect and address this new reality and determine how and where drive-thrus align with our goals as a county. Thank you.
Ma'am, could you share your name and address, please?
Oh, yeah. I was worried that was going to cut in my time. Beverly Rucker, 1430 Ridgeway East, Arnold, Maryland.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
There we go. Good evening, Chairman and council members. My name is Elizabeth Rossborg, and I live at 24 Arnold, in Arnold, Severn Way in Arnold. I'm here tonight asking you to make 3 changes to the Board of Appeals rules and procedures. First, Bill 2318 was signed in April of 2018, and it changed the community meeting code Article 17-2-107, enacted notice of community meetings to property within 300 feet, a change from 175 feet. I realize this was before everyone's time, probably. However, it did not include changes to the Board of Appeals. Under Title II, Rule 2, 101, subsection C, only those within 175 feet can appeal an administrative decision. I simply ask a county council member or the administration to introduce a new bill to coincide with the community meeting notice. A resident can follow a development application for years, I know I have, and then have no opportunity to appeal a decision unless they live within 175 feet. I'm happy to work with anyone who wants to sponsor such a bill. Secondly, the only way you can testify at Board of Appeals hearing is in person. This should be changed to include written testimony. As you know, being a county council member, not all your constituents can attend a meeting at 7 p.m. on a Monday to express their opinions. As a county resident, constituents should be afforded the opportunity to make comments on the record. Thirdly, the recordings are only available to members of the board. The minutes are a joke. We opened the meeting. We closed the meeting. That's it. The transcripts take several weeks, if not months, and provided for a fee. What the fee is, I still have not been told. These are primary examples of lack of transparency and why residents don't want to get involved.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Rucker.
you.
Mr. Higgins.
Paul Higgins, Pasadena, Maryland. I was going to testify at last meeting, but I was a little revved up, and I figured I'd wait till I settled down a little bit before I come down here to talk to you tonight. I'm here tonight to give you an update on the Jumpers Hole Road project. The project that you guys held up the construction funds on to go ahead and get the design completed to figure out where we were going. Well, I'm here tonight to tell you they've constructed a traffic light. It's in, okay? It's not on. And out of the letter that I received from the county, it says the interim traffic signal will allow the county to determine if signalizing the intersection will improve traffic flow to and from nearby residential communities. Is this how we do traffic engineering in Anne Arundel County? We just throw a light up and then do measurements? I feel for the person down here talking about traffic studies and engineering. Ironically enough, 2 years ago, okay, 2 days from this day, 2 years ago, I got a letter from the Traffic Engineering Division Chief on another subject that was just 2 traffic lights from where we put this one in. He says, however, the recent changes did not have the desired benefits. The traffic engineering will undo the recent changes and return the lane usage to previous condition. Finally, I'm developing a full traffic simulation model to evaluate the best coordination pattern between state-controlled intersections and the county signals. You are correct. It is not an easy task. Whenever I believe I have a working solution, I notice another issue. So we've got 2 studies, 2 years, and I'm putting up a signal to see if it works. Something's wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Mr. Minahan.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Council. Matt Minahan, 3651 First Avenue, Edgewater, on behalf of the Growth Action Network. This is Chapter 5 in the Planning Commission, and it's subtitled, Let the Sunshine In and Let the Voters Decide. Land use decisions in this county without a full accounting of costs and without public input result in costs without revenues and maintain adequate infrastructure. A proper land use consideration process is needed to bring professional knowledge and public input to land use actions in Anne Arundel County. Such a process would maximize the likelihood of positive impacts on the lives of residents and resources to sustain them, and include citizen input. The Planning Commission would be advisory. This takes no authority from the council. The Planning Commission would examine draft legislation, would hear from experts, and would hear from the public and present to the council a report that says, summarizes its findings. It takes no authority, infringes on the council's prerogatives, not at all. It's only advisory. It would support current land use decision-making by providing technical expertise, depth of analysis, and opportunity for public input in making recommendations in support of council decision-making. We know some council members in other jurisdictions are not happy with the way their planning commissions are operating. Our conversations with planning commission chairs don't reflect that. And we're hoping in the next couple of weeks to provide you a summary of those conversations, evidence that these planning commissions are doing what we're asking them to do. So in the end, I say, let the sunshine in. Let citizens into the process by which land use decisions are considered. 95 days at the council is way inadequate, and this would be a great night for a hybrid meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minahan. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for invitation audience? Mr. Svensson.
Hi, Kurt Svensson, Arnold, Maryland. As an elected 7-member body, the county council is more representative of county residents than any single county executive could ever be. We, the people, have delegated to you the authority to hold accountable the executive branch. This delegation of authority, however, does not abdicate our rights as citizens to independently hold accountable both branches of our government. This is why it is essential that you each honor your responsibility to systematically document, in the course of normal business, your actions undertaken on our behalf with a degree of specificity that allows for reasonable transparency and accountability. This responsibility includes things like intake of complaints, determinations made, and actions taken in response. This is especially important when, under the law, such complaints may be punitively enforced, and when such determinations involve significant discretion. This responsibility also includes management of working groups that engage with stakeholders and whose work effort is intended to be used to support proposed policy or law change. This includes keeping meaningful minutes and producing substantive interim and final reports. Each example provided here provides general context for my more specific testimony later tonight on Bill 7625 and Bill 8125. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Svensson. The invitation to audience is now closed. Is there any item any council member would like to place on the agenda? May I have a motion that the partial reading of any bill, resolution, amendment to a bill or resolution, or minutes constitutes the reading of the whole?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Secretary, please read the minutes of the legislative session of November 17th and the closed meeting minutes of November 17th, 2025.
The County Council meeting was called to order by Chair Hummer at 7:05 p.m. It was opened with the invocation given by Mr. Volke and was followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. The meeting was held in the County Council chambers in Annapolis, Maryland. Minutes for the closed session. A closed meeting was held on November 17th, 2025, in accordance with Section 3305B1 of the General Provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland to discuss a personnel matter. Chair Hummer opened the meeting at 8:39 p.m. and was held in room 143 of the Arundel Center in Annapolis, Maryland.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the legislative session of November 17th and the closed meeting minutes of November 17th, 2025?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The minutes of the legislative session of November 17th and the closed meeting minutes of November 17th, 2025 stand approved as read. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of the bills to be introduced this evening.
Bill number 9425, an ordinance concerning public works, utilities, right of entry, infrastructure maintenance fee. Bill number 9525, an ordinance concerning payment in lieu of taxes, Little Patuxent Family, Gambrels, Maryland. Bill number 9625, an ordinance concerning finance, taxation, and budget, real property taxes, tax credits, public safety officer property tax credit.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of the resolutions to be introduced this evening.
Resolution number 3625, resolution proposing an amendment to the Charter of Anne Arundel County to create an office known as the Office of Multicultural Affairs and an officer known as the Multicultural Affairs Officer as part of the executive branch.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 7625 as amended.
Bill number 7625, an ordinance concerning public safety, sidewalks, removal of snow and ice.
Okay. Here comes Mr. Hunt. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ethan Hunt for the administration. With me, I have Lori Blair-Klossmeyer, our Deputy County Attorney, Karen Henry, our Director of the Department of Public Works, Alex Backey, our Deputy Director for the Bureau of Highways, and Holly Velez, our Chief of Licensing for the Department of Inspections and Permits. Bill 7625 makes some updates to the county code regarding removing snow and ice from county sidewalks. Currently, it is the responsibility of property owners abutting county sidewalks to remove snow and ice within 6 hours of the end of a snow or weather event, unless the snow has fallen overnight, in which case they have until 11 a.m. This bill extends that time frame to 24 hours. Under current code, the police department is responsible for enforcing the snow removal ordinance. This bill moves that to the Department of Inspections and Permits. It also changes it from a criminal misdemeanor to a civil citation under the county code. Furthermore, it provides property owners up to 24 hours to remove the snow and ice, after which they would receive a warning if someone submits a complaint to the county. Currently, there is no warning provision in the county code. And as amended, the bill then gives up to an additional 24 hours for a property owner to remove the snow and ice if it has been less than 3 inches of accumulation, or 48 hours if there has been more than 3 inches of accumulation. And there's some snow potentially in the forecast for tomorrow. So this legislation did come out of a number of complaints that the county received last year regarding snow and ice on sidewalks that interfered with children's ability to get to school and people's ability to utilize the sidewalks. So with that, we are happy to answer any questions.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Fiedler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support moving this out of the police department. I have said both here and in other settings that I don't think that the police should be policing sidewalks. They have significantly more important work to be doing. My question is, how is inspections and permits going to manage this from a staffing perspective? Are we hiring new staff who will specifically be sidewalk inspectors, or are we using plumbing, electric, building inspectors to do the inspections?
Good evening. Holly Velez, Inspections and Permits Chief of Licensing. I have 3 licensing inspectors that would be handling the complaints. They have field days, they're out in the field, they have the ability to go out and inspect.
Madam Chair. So if the 3 licensing inspectors are called to inspect accusations of sidewalk violations, they would then have to pause their licensing inspections to focus on snow ice removal and sidewalk inspections.
Would be built into their field days, yes.
But they would have to prioritize.
Correct.
Do we know with the 3 inspectors if that's going to be sufficient? I think last year, during that 2-week period of snow, there were 150 complaints. That's a lot of site visits for 3 inspectors who are supposed to be inspecting for licenses. Is that something that they can manage, or are we going to need more staff?
We are under the impression that we can handle it as staffed.
Any other good comments? All right, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 7625 as amended. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, Madam Chair. We received 2 pieces which were shared with the council, added to the record, and posted to the website.
Okay, we will now call on individuals who signed up ahead of the meeting. When I call your name, please come up to the table and have a seat. When it's your turn, state your name and address for the record. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Please listen for the buzzer and respect the 2-minute time limit as others are signed up to speak. If you have more than 2 minutes to share, I'm going to ask you to submit your additional thoughts as early as tomorrow using our online testimony tool. We have 1 person signed up, Sarah Price. And if there are anyone else here who wishes to speak on Bill number 7625, you may come up at this time.
Good evening, Madam Chair and honorable council members. My name is Sarah Price. I'm a resident of District 3, but I'm here on behalf of the Maryland Retailers Alliance, which is located at 171 Conduit Street here in Annapolis. I do want to note that this bill, as it currently stands, is, I would say, an improvement over the current law, but we do have concerns about the impact that it could have on businesses, on business owners who may not be physically able to reach their business premises during an extreme weather event. Whether that's because of the weather event itself or personal matters, there may just be times that individuals cannot reach their sidewalk across town or on the other side of the county to remove the snow. And we have concerns specifically about the fines that would be faced at that time. So we are unfavorable on that aspect of the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Mr. Higgins.
Sure. Paul Higgins, Pasadena, Maryland. First of all, I want to say the amount of dialogue that's going on in this topic says that this is an important discussion to be had, and really everybody listening in needs to take heed to that discussion, okay? It's not something that I believe we should be legislating though. Okay, especially with the words that we have, snow and ice removal, okay? When I went to the county webpage, they got bare surface and they got passable defined as their level of snow removal, okay? When I look at this picture, I see ice, I see snow. I think we're subject to some discretion whether I as a homeowner would be penalized. So I would ask that the bill you have before you vote down tonight. I would ask everybody listening to take this discussion seriously and step up. Let's do what we need to do as a county. You know, this is not something that needs to be passed down and the hammer brought down on anybody. Help your neighbors, pick the phone up. If they don't do it, pick your phone up and call the neighbor next door, say, hey, let's help out. Don't call the county and send somebody down there. Thank you.
Mr. Svensson.
Kurt Svensson, Arnold, Maryland. Thank you for that. Despite many amendments and resident testimony, virtually all of which was opposed, this bill remains a punitive, one-size-fits-all approach. Since it expires on December 6th, I'm guessing it's going to pass on a 4-3 party line vote tonight. So my testimony tonight focuses on the need for sound record keeping and transparent reporting to facilitate accountability. Consider this a heads up to my intention to request this data. As a citizen, I expect proactive disclosure, but will not hesitate to request it via the Maryland Public Information Act. My written testimony identifies in more detail the data elements that must be documented to effectively and efficiently support reasonable transparency and accountability. In short, a detailed listing where each complaint, determination made, and action taken is uniquely identified and meaningfully categorized in the course of normal business. The key here is to enable the systematic protection of privacy and confidentiality. This upfront specification of reporting requirements avoids incurring costly and time-consuming after-the-fact review and edit procedures otherwise needed to ensure this protection. Please don't succumb to the temptation to use such valid privacy and confidentiality concerns as an unnecessary obstacle to reasonable transparency and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Svensson. The public hearing on Bill number 7625 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 7625 as amended.
Bill number 7625, an ordinance concerning public safety, sidewalks, removal of snow and ice.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Mr.
Hey, thanks. Hi. I just want to say I appreciate you guys coming to every meeting that you've come to and spending the time to be a part of this discussion. I can imagine there's many other places that all of you would have rather have been, and I don't imagine that this bill is probably the top priority for either of the departments that are represented here. So, thank you. That being said, I've aired my concerns with this bill repeatedly. I think everybody knows how I'm at least going to vote on it. But I wanted to say that up front because I appreciate you spending your nights with us, coming out here and doing this, and dealing with our questions and allowing us to ask it. So, thank you.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A constituent reminded me that they wanted a question answered. With the new waiver requirement, the amended waiver requirement, where the county has the ability to waive for whatever reason the fees associated with this legislation, how will that be determined? Let's say if someone is ill and going through a health period and there happen to be back-to-back events, are they going to have to provide documentation that they are seeking treatment? Like, what does that look like on the waiver side for the county? What has to be provided?
Holly Velez, Inspections and Permits. We have not really delved into formulating anything at this time. I'm sure I would be working with the Office of Law to formulate what is needed.
Okay. I do appreciate that, and I really want to echo the sentiments of my colleague. I know that this has probably gotten more conversation than any of the, either of the departments anticipated. I don't think it's a surprise where I will be this evening, and there's two reasons why. My district really felt frustrated during that snowstorm, rightfully so, not understanding the challenges that last year's snowstorm placed on our own county crew. Our county crew was out there working the roads around the clock. They were leaving their families at home for hours and not seeing them because it was a doozy. It was low temperatures for 2 weeks, no sun, and heavy wind. Salt wasn't sticking, roads weren't clearing, plows weren't getting things off the ground. So I think that constituents feel like this bill is holding them to a higher standard than they experienced last year. That is not to say our county crews didn't bust their tails to get those roads treated. That's just the sentiment that I am hearing from the District 5 residents. And I just, I want to say the county executive I read said somewhere that this is a reasonable bill. I think it would be reasonable to simply move the enforcing agency over to inspections and permits, and then see if the bill or the law that has been in the books for years, if we actually enforced it, if it worked. Because I don't think it's fair to say that the $10 fine isn't working when we haven't been enforcing it to begin with. So that's where I stand this evening, and I just want to thank you for all your time on this piece of legislation.
So I want to say, Mr. Higgins, I agree with you. I think the best ideal would be that we would call our neighbors and look out for each other. Unfortunately, we know that that doesn't always happen for some things. So, but I hope people will do that, and that's the first alternative before it comes. My main, I think, as many people have said, I think the best thing about this bill is moving it to inspections and permit from the police so that we have police focusing on what they need to for that. And I think the increase in fine is minimal. The calling to complain with neighbors, that's what it's always been. So it's always been a reportable action. We're not changing that in this bill, so we'll continue on. We'll see if there's an increase in it, but I think this is a reasonable step, and we'll see. We can always reevaluate and watch us not have any snow for the next 2 years, and then we'll have to deal with it when it comes about. So I know Ms. Henry's going, please no. So we shall see. So are there any other comments? All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 7625 as amended.
Mr. Volke.
Nay.
Ms. Fiedler.
Nay.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Nay.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
4 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. Bill number 7625 as amended has passed.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 8125 as amended.
Bill number 8125, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, adequate public facilities, adequate transportation facilities, mitigation, fees and securities, development impact fee credits.
Okay. Mr. Hunt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ethan Hunt for the administration. Joining me at the table are Jansen Evelyn, our Deputy Chief Administrative Officer, Greg Swain, our County Attorney, Sarah Fowler, our Planning Administrator for Transportation Development from the Office of Planning and Zoning, David Braun, our Engineering Administrator from the Department of Public Works, and Brian Ulrich, our Planning Administrator from the Office of Transportation. Bill 8125 updates our traffic APF ordinance, which has not been touched in several years, as well as amended, adding some BPTA, or bicycle pedestrian transit assessment provisions, and makes some changes to the impact fee agreements. There are some amendments to discuss at the appropriate time. I'll turn it over if Mr. Evelyn wants to add anything, or if not, we'll answer questions if the council has any.
You've heard from me enough. Good evening, everyone.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from the council? Okay, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 8125 as amended. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, Madam Chair. We received one piece which was shared with the council, added to the record, and posted to the website.
Okay, We will now call on individuals who signed up ahead of the meeting. When I call your name, please come up to the table and have a seat. When it's your turn, state your name and address for the record. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Please listen for the buzzer and respect the 2-minute time limit as others are signed up to speak. If you have more than 2 minutes to share, I'm going to ask you to submit your additional thoughts as early as tomorrow using our online testimony tool. We have one person signed up, Lucy Davis, and if there's anyone else here who wishes to speak on Bill number 8125, you may come up at this time as well. Davis, you can go ahead and start.
You guys for letting me come back again, and good evening. I am gonna go rather off script, and I'm not gonna sit here and talk to you guys like a robot and a teenager using SAT words. I'm gonna talk to you like a human being because that's what we all are. On your website, the Anne Arundel County website, there is an article, and it's called Poverty Amidst Plenty. And the 8th edition from 2025 states that 4,010 people walked every single day to work. 4,000. Those are real life people, just like you guys. And I know that you guys can all afford transportation, and I know that you guys can all afford to get to work or Uber or drive, but many people can't. And as I say to everybody that I talk to, I speak for the trees, and I'm going to speak for the people who can't do that. And I am rather disappointed in all of you guys because the significance of this is so heavy to me, and it seems like it's not to you guys. There are people, these are real life people. These are real life people, 4,000 of them. 4,000 real life people that walk to work every single day. Your job is to promote the safety and well-being of this county and the people in this county, and I think this bill needs to be passed in order for you guys to do what you are supposed to in protecting the safety and well-being of the people in this county. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So, ladies, you can go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Madison Watson from Crofton, Maryland, and I'm a member of the Anne Arundel County Youth Advisory Council. I'm here to express our continued support for Bill 8125 as young residents and students, transportation affects our daily lives in ways that are easy to overlook. It shapes how students travel to school, how teens without licenses get to work, Lucy Davis covered, and how families stay connected within their communities. Many students still walk or bike along roads without sidewalks or shoulders, and many teens rely on limited alternatives to driving. And these challenges influence both safety and opportunity for youth across the county. While the amended bill no longer includes the original language that would have required updated standards for bicycle, pedestrian, and transit modes, its core purposes still remain important. Bill 8125 strengthens the county's transportation review process by ensuring that new development is evaluated using clear, more modern standards. By updating how mitigation and impact fee credits are handled, the bill helps guarantee that infrastructure improvements keep pace with growth, a benefit that extends to every resident whether they walk, drive, or rely on other means of travel. As members of the Youth Advisory Council, we not only represent students, but the wider community. Older adults, residents with disabilities, individuals without reliable access to a car face many of the same barriers in navigating our transportation system. Although the amended bill does not directly mandate improvements for all travel modes, it still advances a more coordinated and responsible approach to development. Strengthening this foundation allows future policies to better address the multimodal needs of our county. Importantly, the goals of Bill 8125 remain aligned with the long-term county visions such as Plan 2040, Complete Streets, and Vision Zero. By improving how growth is evaluated and managed, the bill supports safer, more predictable, and more sustainable development patterns. On behalf of the Anne Arundel County Youth Advisory Council, I respectfully urge you to vote in favor of Bill 8125. Even in its amended form, this legislation represents meaningful progress.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is River Haslip from Severn, Maryland. I would like to, obviously I like this bill even before it needed to be revised. I would like to specifically like point out amendment number 10, where it shows that the frontage roads would essentially make it so it that would exempt emergency roads from being applied to the same. Okay. Anyway, I believe this amendment is necessary to Bill 8125, since this bill is not only made in the interest of improving transportation, but also making transportation safe for those who rely on transportation that doesn't necessarily require a vehicle.
Thank you. Mr. Corey.
Thank you. I'm grateful to the students here for reaffirming all the important reasons why this bill is even before you. I'm going to dive right into the amendments. Amendment 9 is good. That all it does is restore what was already in code, which is to include the bike ped transit assessment process in the development process. It's been there for 6 years. This just puts it back. Amendment 10, frontage and redevelopment. I'll stay on the sidelines on that one. I'm going to jump to Amendment 12, which deals with the fee and lieu rates in the bike ped transit section part of the code. You know I was here last time looking for higher rates, and I know you rejected the rates that are in this bill with an escalator. It sounds like it's at least a small step forward, and I look forward to that amendment being passed as is, and maybe another day we'll talk about fees again. Let me go to Amendment 11. We talked about how a prior set of amendments swung the pendulum way too far away from the original intent of the bill. This Amendment 11 brings it back some, but it doesn't bring it back enough. It should have restored some of the original language in the bill that prioritized the alternate modes as the best way to mitigate traffic congestion. It takes that priority away. It sort of allows for bike ped transit improvements as an exception, not as a preferred approach. So I would prefer to see Amendment 11 a little stronger and restore some of what was in the original bill. But I leave it to the council to figure out exactly where this all lands. So I hope you'll pass these and pass the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Svensson.
Kurt Svensson, Arnold, Maryland. My testimony highlights just a few of my substantive concerns with the latest rendition of this proposed bill. 3 things. 1, fee in lieu provision. It's the provisions for these capital projects. It's bad accounting and poor governance to create a system of so-called capital projects to act as special funds. This approach sidesteps the comprehensive capital budget process, rarely results in meaningful project scopes, and further diminishes the role of the legislative branch. Number 2, tri-annual report. The added requirement to report once every 3 years is laughable as a gesture of transparency. Please reference section 1711-211, D and E within the same article for more reasonable forms of reporting requirements. Number 3, the new impact fee credit provision. The previous version of this bill prioritized the substitution of pedestrian, bikeway, and transit improvements over road capacity improvements to address traffic mitigation. I was concerned that the required determination that these substitute improvements would in fact result in a reduction of vehicle trips was too subjective, too prone to wishful thinking. Now, as amended, that's gone, maybe. The new impact fee credit provision doesn't even pretend such a reduction in vehicle trips will result. under this new provision, if the developer constructs these substitute improvements, then they're eligible. This bill proposes a step backwards by incentivizing the reduction of funding for road capacity improvements. Don't get me wrong. I support pedestrian, bikeway, and transit improvements.
Thank you, Mr.
just
Svensson.
not at the expense of road capacity.
Thank you, Mr. Svensson. Yes, sir.
Max Gross, Annapolis, Maryland. I'm here speaking behalf on Anne Arundel County Association of Realtors tonight, and I'm gonna ask to maybe withdraw, if not defeat this bill. Something that I heard from everyone across the board here tonight, whether they were for or against it, is this bill could use more work. It's not there yet. We know why it's not there yet. You got a very complicated bill that goes deep into the weeds of planning and zoning, sprung on you by the administration with no final report from the work group, with very little advance notice, and basically punted 30 days worth of time trying to get it even close to passable. Now we're still amending it, still going through the nitty-gritty details on the night that the clock is going to run out. The timing is also a little weird. We are entering an election year, and 13 months from now, 4 of you will not be sitting up there, and we'll have a new county executive. And while it's very early in the election year, every single candidate for county executive has a plan to streamline or reform planning and zoning. All of them. We all know it's a problem. We all know it has to change, and yet we're spending all this time digging through a bill that was rushed through the council just to get the details of planning and zoning right. One of the things that I testify about on a regular basis is how hard it is to build in Anne Arundel County because the rules keep changing. I feel like if you pass this bill, the rules will change in 18 months again. Just doesn't seem worth it. I humbly request that this bill be withdrawn.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on Bill number 8125? Yes. Mr. Minahan.
Good evening again. Matt Minahan on behalf of the Growth Action Network. We liked this bill, the original bill, much better than we like this current version. We thought there was teeth in it. We thought that it did something really important, which is to integrate all modes of transportation into one concept. And unfortunately, as the bill has evolved after amendments, roads has been separated in too many ways from bike, pedestrian, and transit. We thought it was a much stronger bill when it included all of the above solutions. On the current amendments, we applaud the increase in fees in lieu that's in tonight's amendment. It's unfortunate that you've taken out the annual review of costs in the escalator. Otherwise, you're going to put the next 2 or 3 councils behind the 8 ball revisiting these numbers again. And you wouldn't have to do that if you had left in the escalator. We also regret that the roads and BPTA have been separated in many cases, and that we should not be pulling them apart. We are definitely in support of amendment number 9. In principle, amendment 11 is fine, but we share a concern that we've shared with you before, and that is it puts a lot of authority in the hands of the planning and zoning officer. And while we love the people who are there today, we have no idea who's going to be there in the future. And having some constraints on their authority, I think would be a very wise idea in this and in several of the other recently passed bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minahan. Okay, the public hearing on Bill number 8125 as amended is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 8125 as amended.
Bill number 8125, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, adequate public facilities, adequate transportation facilities, mitigation, fees and securities, development impact fee credits.
Okay. There are 4 amendments. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 9.
Amendment number 9. This amendment restores certain provisions relating to bicycle, pedestrian, and transit requirements in development applications.
Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm actually going to kick it over to Mr. Evelyn.
Good evening. As amendment number 9 says, restores certain provisions related to bicycle, pedestrian, and transit requirements and development applications. And what this does is it corrects a slight over adjustment from the last draft by removing BPT. When we removed BPT from the APF study process, while that the administration view that as being necessary to avoid new and significant cost pressures on development, but we also heard as we continue to communicate with the advocacy group, specifically Mr. Corrin, that entirely removing BPT expectations from the code created that it weakened some of the baseline standards that helped ensure safe site design. As a result, this amendment restores those longstanding expectations without reintroducing the burden of the heavy APF study burden. That's all I have.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
Moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion from the council? Ms. Broadbent.
I just wanted to take a minute to thank everyone that testified, and I once again really appreciate the young people that came to testify, because I think young people see the dangers of not taking action in the way that the original bill, but also at least this modified version of the bill, with more clarity than many other folks, because it really is their future. So if we're not building in a way that accommodates changes to our transportation system that are needed in order to minimize the effects of climate change, and to accommodate people that, many people that, 4,000 I'm hearing, do not, are walking to their jobs every day, and they're part of our community too, and they deserve routes that are safe just as much as folks that are getting in their cars. So I hope my colleagues support this amendment. I really wish this bill went further. I know it started there, so I appreciate the administration bringing that. I think we're just turning too frequently a blind eye to climate change. I barely made the news, but 1,000 people have died in the past several days from storms in Southeast Asia that were basically turbocharged because of climate change, and those are our fellow Earthlings. And I just wish that we looked at our impact a little more frequently, a little more seriously, because at some point that could be any of us.
Mr. Volk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I have a question for the Department of Transportation. I'm looking at the Poverty Amidst Plenty 2025 report. It's on page 36, the 8th edition, and the reason I'm asking transportation is because the source of the data that was relied upon for that is Anne Arundel County Department of Transportation Applied Geographic Solutions from August 2024. When I add up the total number of people going to work in Anne Arundel County, it comes to 300,652 people. Does that mean the other 300,000 people in the county are not working or not going to work? Okay. Because when I look at it, 70.46% of the people, 211,849, are driving to work alone. 59,000, roughly 19%, are working at home. And if I look at 4,000 out of 600,000 people, which is how many we have in the county, we're talking about 0.67% of the population is walking to work. So when we're kind of sort of looking at these things from a macro standpoint, and we're zooming out and saying where are the improvements having the biggest impact for the biggest number of people, which is what we've often done, that's why we have historically looked at road improvements and capacity improvements as being the place to direct those resources, because that's covering 70% of the people who are going to work, at least of the 300,000 that you all have included in your data. So I guess I'm just trying to understand what this data is coming from. Like, how did you get it? What are we relying on? Because if we're using that to make decisions, then I want to understand where the data came from.
Again, I don't have the specifics of where they got it from, but we often use the census data where people self-report which way, how they get to work, and the LEHD, which all is kind of reporting data of people of how they get to work. And it's important to note there's just those people getting to work, like primary trip to work. There are other trips that people make that may take other modes as well.
Okay.
So that's just one data point.
Got it. So there could be like 4 more things that we put in here that are like where you go shopping and how you do that and all that, like different components to this. Understood. Okay.
Ms. Robbie.
Thank you. Mr. Volke, I respectfully think your logic is missing a really important piece that, the assumption that simply because, I can't remember the percentage, you said roughly 71%, did I get that, of folks are driving, you're assuming that that's the way they prefer to do their commute. There may be many people that would prefer to not have to get in a car, that would actually prefer to walk if there were safe paths to walk, people that would prefer to bike to work if there were safe routes. But when you know that there are, pedestrian fatalities because we have unsafe intersections that don't accommodate pedestrians, or, bike paths, or no lack of bike paths where you are forced to ride in the road, that people are not choosing that. They're choosing to, get in their car, even though they might only be going a mile or 2 miles, something that would be very walkable or bikeable if the paths exist. So I think that investment in not only investing in what exists, but also investing in what will benefit us in the future environmentally and in terms of, what people actually might prefer. I have done biking and walking whenever I can, if it's possible. It's not always possible, but it is, at least for me, and I'm guessing I know I'm not the only one in this room. I may be the minority, but I know a lot of folks would prefer other options if they had them. So I think we should encourage them and invest in them.
All right, any other comments? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 9.
Mr. Volke.
Nay.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodbian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Nay.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
5 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. Amendment number 9 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 10.
Amendment number 10. This amendment allows existing frontage improvements to be preserved during redevelopment or a change of use and further defines frontage roads.
Mr. Hunt or Mr. Evelyn?
Yeah, we missed Evelyn right now. So yes, this second amendment just clarifies how frontage obligations are going to apply. It confirms or states explicitly that developers are only going to be responsible for the footprint, for the frontage that they own or control, and that existing developments undergoing a change of use or redevelopment are not required to reconstruct fully functional or functioning frontage. This was something that we had a lot of conversation around, and we wanted to make sure that we got this language right, and so we think it introduces or ensures the clarity that's needed and supports the county's broader commitment for reinvestment in older corridors. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Okay. Any discussion? No one? Ms. Pickard?
Thank you. I am appreciative of the work that's gone into this language, and I'm quite comfortable with the way this has landed. I know we've had, not only through this bill, but through previous legislation, and I think this is the common ground and the compromise that I think is necessary to not, this makes sense to me. So I support.
Mr. Foley.
Not Mr. Pickard. I won't watch that. Didn't we just elect you for another year? Jeez.
No, that'll
All
be
right.
quite a few going on.
You're good.
All right,
You're good.
Mr. Volk.
So just want to make sure I understand this. This is saying that for any redevelopment project, they are exempt from these requirements, and any project that is a change of use on an existing development would also be exempt. So basically, if there's like a store that's converting to something different in a strip mall or in a, some kind of shopping center or something, they would not be required to do any of these frontage improvements. That's one piece of it. And then any kind of redevelopment, even if they're on a frontage road, they would be exempt from this.
So the logic behind that is,
Well, no,
short
just-
answer is yes.
Thank you.
And the
Okay.
and the
Go ahead.
logic
Now go.
behind that
Yep.
is because many of these sites already have function frontage improvements or frontage that it
what if
would
they don't?
almost be redundant in many ways to have them or require them to start over again. And it's that when we talk about, and I know some of your fellow members in the council talk about passing costs on to the consumer. This was one of the thought processes
I
behind
talk
that.
about it. I talk about it a lot. But my question to you is, so if your overall philosophy is we want to get bike, pedestrian, transit improvements in as many places as we possibly can, we think that that's going to make the county more walkable, more bikeable, more accessible to people in non-vehicle driven mechanisms. And we want to make sure that we do that all around the county. Why would you take older properties, many of which are in the areas that you want to see more of these improvements, and exempt them entirely from it and say you don't have to do it?
So anyone else can jump in, but I can tell you that when we talk about the county wants redevelopment, we don't want to penalize it. And again, when a lot of redevelopment is occurring, there are going to be improvements that will naturally occur as a part of that redevelopment. But it didn't make sense to have that frontage in place specifically for redevelopment. That's why we carved that particular one out.
So, and your logic works to the extent that a property already has a sidewalk in the front of it, right? Or it already has some sort of access along the frontage. But if it doesn't, because it predates maybe zoning in some of these, or any kind of land use review by the county, because there are parts of the county that's the reality. This isn't going to do anything to help that. So I'm thinking about places like Brooklyn Park, Glen Burnie, parts of the county that have been around, that are more developed, that are more densely populated, where that is the area that you're saying, this is what we'd like to see. We'd like to see more walking. We'd like to see more biking. That's going to be easier for people to live, work, and play all in the same spot. And you're specifically saying in those areas, this isn't going to apply. And I'm just not understanding how that comports with the purpose of the bill and what you all are looking for. If you don't have any more, that's okay.
Yeah,
You've answered as much as you can. I'm just sort of putting that question out there because it doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to my colleagues. I haven't followed the logic yet.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When the work group was discussing this proposed bill, what was the discussion around road frontage? Did you view it from the lens of redevelopment? Did you view it from the lens of a change in use for a new business taking over? How did it end up in the bill after a 5-year work group and now it's coming out?
As someone who was not a participant in that work group, I would definitely defer to some of my colleagues that are sitting here at this table.
Greg Swain, County Attorney. Well, I can say that the frontage improvement portion of it, as it was originally in this bill, right, was encompassed all those uses, like change of use as well as redevelopment. So as far as the work group goes, that was sort of the focus. But based on some of our discussions with industry groups, et cetera, the argument just was made that in many areas, including redevelopment areas, there is existing frontage that they should not be required to redo it. And also that if a developer does want to do frontage improvements that encompass bike, pedestrian, and pedestrian facilities, they're still able to do it and be eligible for impact fee credit. So it's not like, it's still not incentivized, but it's not just being made a requirement.
Understood. I'm going to support this amendment this evening, and the reason is I have encountered several small businesses who have purchased properties that were another use, and they have had to pay for EDU calculations that are enormous, that they have to go through because it's a change of use. So imposing this would add cost and could prohibit some really exciting new businesses from coming to areas of the county. But I also agree with Mr. Volkey at the same time. So I asked the question about the work group because I was interested in hearing about how the discussion on this unfolded, given the dynamics and complexities that could occur with redevelopment or a change of use. So I'm going to continue to try to get information on what took place over 5 years for a work group.
Ms. Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this amendment is in two parts. So the second part that we haven't discussed really is what was really also important in our original discussions in the bill is defining what road frontage is. So when we tackled this issue in previous legislation that failed, it was very expansive. And it was like any road that touched an entire property was required to do, road frontage improvements. Now we've tailored this down to what actually I think the ultimate goal really is, where you have access or actually the frontage of a road. So these are two different concepts, but of the same topic. So they could have been two different amendments, but I actually support both of them. That's amazing. Well done, team.
All right. Any other comments? All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 10.
Mr. Volkey.
Nay.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. Amendment number 10 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 11.
Amendment number 11. This amendment provides that the planning and zoning officer may grant a credit against traffic mitigation requirements if bicycle, pedestrian, and transit improvements are likely to reduce traffic trips.
Mr. Hunt?
Mr. Evelyn?
Mr. Evelyn, sorry.
No, yeah, we decided to, again, after having conversations with industry as well as advocacy groups, we realized, this was low-hanging fruit in many ways. This is an approach that's evidence-based, and it also would encourage the kind of multimodal improvements that would relieve congestion by reducing vehicle miles traveled. The administration viewed this as a way to keep mitigation focused on outcomes rather than prescribing specific modes. So I don't know if anyone else has anything further to add, but that's all from me.
Mr. Volk.
Thank you. So what are the evidence-based metrics that the planning and zoning officer will rely upon in making this determination?
I hope, sir.
The language specifically says reasonably calculated, so let's hear that.
I can't speak to the exact evidence-based phrasing. However, we would look at the characteristics of the road, characteristics of the generator, and whether we could reasonably assume that having pedestrian facilities, bike facilities, would allow people to use those facilities instead of getting on the road to drive. My favorite example is a walking path to a school where otherwise parents would have to drive their kids to school. A walking path, they could walk a short distance, get their kids to school safely, they wouldn't get on the road. So that would be something that we'd be considering as something that would be an alternate mode of transportation for that particular instance.
I mean, not to go like completely tangential, but I have that exact situation in a community in my district, and we've been trying to get the county to fix the bridge so that people can walk so they don't have to drive their kids to school. And I've literally gotten blowback from the county saying, we're not going to do it. So applaud the idea, but just suggesting that's a little bit harder to, not zinging you in any way, but just saying that's a good deal harder. I recognize Mr. Swain may be chomping at the bit because there are legal components to this that he may want to jump in with, but I will tell you, having been involved and seen all of it, there's a solution. There's always a solution, but and the county has tried. But I would also say the outcome of this, if the county can't get the option that they've tried in my situation, would be taken on as a capital project, added into the budget, sort of do this specific transportation improvement that you're talking about. And that's a lot harder to do than it looks on sort of first blush. That being said, with this framework or rubric that you're talking about, using this as a way to calculate the improvements, it all lands in the lap of the planning and zoning officer who has ultimate discretion on this, right?
Yes.
Okay. And To my questions to transportation earlier and sort of the methods of data collection that we use, and do we know what we're using and where does it come from, and we recognize there's all of sort of these outside sources that we're relying on. The one lady that talked about the Chick-fil-A with the outdated data was eye-opening. My point just is, it all coming full circle. Mr. Svensson's point that he keeps bringing up about transparency or the lack thereof, it's problematic because without that rubric being in a form that anyone can access and see what is going on, we're sort of left to say, well, we're just going to trust the planning officer. We hope that they did it right. We think they might have, but we're not sure. That's the problem that I have with this and a lot of things in our code that are in there like that. So I would love to see you all actually have something where you say if it reduces trip generation by this amount, or if it's a specific metric, if you will, that drives this discussion and this decision, as opposed to all of the discretion being in the planning and zoning officer's wheelhouse. Just sharing that for me. I don't know if that's beneficial for any of my colleagues, but that's how I look at it, because then there is at least an objective standard people can step back and go, okay, we know whether they met it or they didn't. Thank you. Long way of getting there.
Are there any other comments? Madam Secretary, please call the roll. Did we? No, we haven't done a motion to adopt yet. Okay, sorry, jumping ahead. May I have a motion to adopt? To Amendment 11. Do we have a second?
Rodvian, second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right. You said your piece. All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Amendment number 11.
Mr. Volkey?
Nay.
Ms. Fiedler?
Nay.
Ms. Rodvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Nay.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
4 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. Amendment number 11 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read Amendment number 12.
Amendment number 12. This amendment increases the amount of the bicycle, pedestrian, and transit service infrastructure fee in lieu to an amount adjusted for inflation from 2018.
Okay. Mr. Evelyn.
Yes, this final amendment, thankfully, updates the fee in lieu for BPTA. And as we said last time, the prior rates were set back in 2018. Construction costs have risen significantly. If you don't adjust the fee, then the infrastructure the fee is meant to support cannot be delivered in real terms and real outcomes. So updating the fee ensures transparency, fiscal responsibility, and also the realistic ability on the county's part to be able to fund meaningful multimodal improvements where frontage work is not feasible. And that's it.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Volkey.
So this is identical to Amendment 6 that failed, except it removes the automatic escalator?
Absolutely.
Got it. Okay. And this one's going to pass?
We'll see.
Okay, I got it.
If I had the ability to tell the future, I would not be sitting in front of you right now.
I mean, you all got your vote counts pretty good. You know what's going on. Okay. And we agree that this cost is going to end up getting passed on to the end users, the consumers, right? We all agree on that?
Is this a rhetorical question, or
No,
you
it's a real
really want me to
question.
answer?
It's a real question. This is a tax by another name.
I'll allude to my same response 2 weeks ago, where I said it would be a negligible cost,
Got it.
especially in light of the impact fee credit amendment that was also passed.
Okay.
Okay. Did we do a motion to adopt? Okay. I'm getting confused, my amendments. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion? Okay, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Amendment number 12.
Mr. Volkey?
No.
Ms. Fiedler?
Nay.
Ms. Rodvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Nay.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
4 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. Amendment number 12 has been adopted.
So, Bill number 8125 as amended will be heard on December 15th, 2025.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
if I may, I just wanted to thank the teens that came out tonight to speak. I also wanted to just let you know that part of bike, ped, and transit is actually, if we can increase
bus transit, rapid bus, and more efficient bus service in this county, maybe we can reduce the number of 4,000 people walking to work. So helping move this concept along with also balancing road infrastructure will help us get to better reliable, efficient bus service. So thank you all for coming out. This is an important topic, not just for today, but for the future. So thank you for being here tonight.
All right. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 8825.
Bill number 8825, an ordinance concerning capital budget and program, Board of Education, all-day kindergarten and pre-kindergarten, maintenance backlog, building systems renovations, additions, and sustainability initiatives, capital projects, supplementary and transfer of appropriations.
Mr. Hunt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ethan Hunt for the administration. With me, I have Lori Blair-Klossmeyer, our Deputy County Attorney, Kyle Roof, our Executive Director of Facilities from the Anne Arundel County Public Schools, and Chris Trumbauer, our Budget Officer. Bill 8825 proposes amendments to the capital budget and program for fiscal year 2026 by making a transfer of appropriations from Board of Ed Additions Capital Project to the Board of Ed All-Day Pre-K Capital Project, make supplementary appropriations to the education maintenance backlog, building systems renovation, and sustainability initiatives capital projects, and amends the capital program and capital bond ordinance for the current fiscal year. We did discuss this at the work session a few weeks ago, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 8825. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Okay, no one signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on Bill number 8825? Seeing no movement, the public hearing on Bill number 8825 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 8825.
Bill number 8825, an ordinance concerning capital budget and program, Board of Education, all-day kindergarten and pre-kindergarten, maintenance backlog, building systems, renovations, additions, and sustainability initiatives, capital projects, supplementary and transfer of appropriations.
Okay. Any further discussion? No one? All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 8825.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Bill number 8825 has passed.
Thank you, gentlemen, for sitting here for a while, listening to snow removal, and for us to vote on it. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution number 3425.
Resolution number 3425, resolution approving the use of funds from Advanced Land Acquisition Capital Project for the purpose of real properties in Edgewater, Maryland from Glebe Bay LLP and Artabella Fox, and in Harmons, Maryland from Craig A. Mercer.
All right, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ethan Hunt for the administration. Again, with me at the table, Lori Blair-Klossmeyer, our Deputy County Attorney, Kyle Roof, our Executive Director of Facilities for Anne Arundel County Public Schools. I also have Chris Daniels, our Real Estate Manager from Central Services. And maybe I don't.
You may want to check that.
Yeah, I guess I don't. The
way they all look
Chris
around.
Chris Trumbauer, our Budget Officer. One Chris. So Resolution 3425 approves the terms and conditions for acquiring two pieces of property on behalf of the county. One parcel is a 68.27 acre parcel in Edgewater, which will be used as an extension of Lock Haven Community Park to be used for passive recreation. It would utilize a combination of $4.5 million coming from $2 million from Advanced Land Acquisition, $2 million, I believe, sorry, I don't have the updated fiscal note, and $500,000 from the reforestation funds. The other parcel, which I know there are some questions about, which is why we have Mr. Michelson here from the Department of Public Works, who's also our environmental policy advisor, is for a 7.911 acre parcel on Shipley Avenue in Harmons, which will be used for the site of the proposed Board of Education school bus facility lot capital project with a purchase price of $7.6 million from Advanced Land Acquisition Fund. We did discuss these at the work session. We do have one amendment at the appropriate time. I will note that Mr. Daniels made the comment at the work session that there is a phase 2 environmental site assessment that is currently being done for the Harmon site for the bus facility. We are hopeful to have that by the end of the week. My understanding is they were on site this morning working on that. There's Mr. Daniels. Sorry. So if the council still has concerns or would like to wait and see the result of that phase 2 assessment, we expect to have it shortly, in which case I would ask that you consider holding the resolution for 2 weeks and voting it at the meeting on December 15th. But other than that, we are happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Volkey?
This is an easy question out of the gate. So are you asking for a hold, or are you saying, if you want to hold it, we won't oppose it, we think we're good to move forward with it as is, but you all can do what you want?
So we're comfortable moving forward, but if the council still has concerns, which I understand you might, if given that the phase 2 site assessment is not complete, we would be comfortable with it being held for 2 weeks.
Okay. Anybody else want to jump in? I don't understand how you all. Miss Brogdon.
No, that's okay. You're on a line.
I don't understand how you're comfortable buying this property at this number with these environmental concerns without the phase 2 in place. So maybe you can walk me through how your comfort level is more comfortable than my comfort level.
I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Daniels, our real estate manager.
John? Okay. Chris Daniels, Central Services Real Estate Manager. The environmental concerns, the issues are with the adjacent property. And you're right, we do want to make sure that with the phase 2 that there are no real issues that are a big concern for the county. We do not believe there will be any issues that affect our property. The environmental consultants were out there this morning at 8 a.m. starting their work. I expect to have their report on my desk by this Friday. And you were correct. You mentioned the price we're paying for this property. Yes, it is a little bit higher than what it did appraise for with the second appraisal. We did have several other groups that were also bidding for this property. Limited supply of this property on the market right now in Anne Arundel County, and unfortunately the limited supply did push our bid up a little higher than we wanted it to be.
I would also add, and I believe Mr. Daniels mentioned it at the work session, is that the contract for purchase does have an opt-out provision if we discover during our due diligence that there are significant issues that would incur future costs.
So just to put a finer point on the environmental issues, this is next to an EPA Superfund, right?
Yes, you were correct.
Okay, and we have discovered in the EPA Superfund site that there's chromium and arsenic in the soil and the groundwater, right?
You were correct.
Okay, but we are all of the opinion from the county standpoint that that has not seeped its way into the property that we're purchasing. That's all exclusively on the adjacent property.
This is why we authorized the phase 2 environmental.
Oh, I got it, and I agree with the phase 2 environment, but I'm saying, how in the world can you all sit up there and say, we're ready to roll forward today without the phase 2? We're comfortable in having a vote. If it were me and I was in your shoes, I'd be saying, whoa, we need to hold this. We're not ready. This isn't prime time ready yet. Let's do a phase 2. Let's get the answers to that. Then we'll come to the council. The fact that it's the administration's position that we're going to say, well, we're working on phase 2, but we really don't need that info. We could move forward tonight with it. Disturbs me greatly, just from an environmental standpoint. So I'm just starting there, not even to the price yet. But Mr. Hunt wants to chime in, so.
Defer to Mr. Daniels.
Well, I think on our end, the contract does give us a due diligence period. So we can see what this phase 2 report says. If the findings are negative, you are within your right. We're within our right to cancel the contract.
But it's not going to come back in front of me again after that. It's going to come back to you all and the administration that says they're comfortable moving forward even without the phase 2. I don't get another bite at this apple. This comes in front of me one time. This is it, right? This is my vote tonight. I'm an up or a down. If I say up, this goes forward, and then if you all don't feel comfortable, you can opt out. But I don't get another bite at this apple, right?
I mean, that's correct, yes.
Okay,
But
that's what I
it is,
thought.
I mean, again, we have the opt-out provision in the contract for the reason that
You all get to decide on based on your comfort level, which as we've already established is very different from my comfort level.
again, we will have the phase 2 study completed.
When did you
by then.
initiate the phase 2?
I believe we initiated it about 10 days ago.
Okay, so you initiated it after you introduced the legislation and after you heard the pushback from the council and after you knew that we all had a problem with this through our legislative analyst who went through and figured this out. And then you said, well, our comfort level may not be as comfortable as we thought. Let's get the phase 2, right?
Let me rephrase that.
Okay.
We initiated it several weeks ago. It took quite a bit of time to get the county paperwork.
Did you initiate it before or after you introduced it to the council, the legislation to the council?
I'd have to check on that. I don't know that.
All right.
I believe it was around the end of October, though, but we can check.
I'll let somebody else jump in.
Ms. Robdian.
Thank you. My main question was, you mentioned that the environmental scientists were on the property today. Am I describing, what's their title?
I call them the environmental consultants.
Consultants, okay. And I realize this was just today and there's not a report yet, but is there any information, were there any like readings or data that you could share from today, or no, nothing?
I don't have anything yet.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a bit of an if this then that question. I know. I seem to love asking them. With the contingency clause, I'm curious if it came to the contingency clause being considered to be utilized, because this is ultimately a property the county is buying for the school system to essentially utilize. Who would be the actual, we've determined it's not the council, we wouldn't be the decision maker on that. I'm curious, is that something that AACPS would be involved in, or would that solely be county? Because obviously I think it would be reasonable to come to the conclusion that if the county wanted to exercise the contingency clause and get out of the contract because of what was found, that one of the concerns would not just be health and safety, but also cost. And so I'm just curious, if this then that, who would be at the table outside of the council executing and making that decision on the contingency clause?
Referring to the contingency, whether we move forward or not?
Correct.
This whole process, Central Services Real Estate has been in contact with schools. It's a joint effort.
A joint effort. So there'd be conversation about that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Who determines what is environmentally significant?
I'm relying a lot on the environmental consultant. I'm not an environmental expert. I do read the reports. Once that report does come in, I will look at that report. I will have our brokers look at the report. I will also forward it to law to look at the report and to schools.
Madam Chair, may I? If there is a mildly significant environmental assessment and the county is then looking at mitigating that, would the cost of mitigating something that's mild be calculated in the decision to move forward? I'm trying to find out, where's the threshold once this bill leaves the council, the tier 2 study happens, there's some environmental concern there, big or small, but there might be a cost associated with the mitigation. How are you all planning to determine that decision?
If there are issues on the property that we're buying, which if there are issues on the property that we're buying, we will get costs to mitigate those issues. At this point, we do think that the major environmental issues.
One more follow-up. Will 2 weeks allow for enough time to not only get the study complete and the findings, but a cost analysis of any potential mitigation?
That should be enough time. I do have the environmental consultant. They know we needed this report rather quickly. Once I get it on Friday, if we do see that there are issues that need to be mitigated on the property we're buying, I will ask them to get us cost estimates.
Thank you.
Ms. Rodvian.
Thank you. So I wanted to just ask about, that you mentioned the possibility of a hold, if the council, depending on the council's comfort level going forward at this point. And I'm curious, I know that you've also mentioned that there are a shortage of properties that would be appropriate. This is obviously one, this is not the first bite at the apple, so to speak, in terms of finding a bus depot, I'll call it, that the council has had. So that, by itself tells me that we're got a second tab here, and there were multiple bidders on this property. Is there a concern that a hold tonight would jeopardize, or is the sales contract kind of hold us in place, even if there's a hold that, a vote of the council wouldn't happen until the 15th? Are we sort of locked in place because of that contract? Or does the seller have if they...
I do think the seller has confidence that the county will close on this property, and that's probably one of the reasons they accepted our bid. Okay. The contract, as currently written, does state that the county will close on the property prior to the end of the year. If we need to, I think we can go ahead and amend that contract and potentially push that closing date back a little bit to give us time.
And just to clarify, the county has, I can't remember what you called it, but some sort of rescission clause, but the seller does not?
The county has, the county has a due diligence period.
Okay.
And based on what we find in the due diligence period, the county does have the option to cancel.
And does the seller have any option to cancel the contract? Is there any basis on which they could cancel it at this point?
I do not believe there is, no.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Volk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What amount of money has either the county or ACPS set aside to deal with any potential findings from the Phase 2 environmental study?
We currently have a capital program set up for this project. It's about $17 million. Requests are over the next couple of years. Right now, we currently have around 9, I believe.
And of the $17 million that's been estimated for the project, how much of that is for remediation versus design, construction? I'm assuming no acquisition, because we're probably giving it to you for free, right?
Correct.
Okay. So it's design and construction, but what's remediation in there?
There is demo costs associated with older facilities that we would consolidate at that site.
What's that amount? What's that line item in there?
I don't have the estimate in front of me.
Okay, all right. Our vapor encroachment condition, we're aware that this existed on the adjacent property and that this may be a problem for the property that we are looking to purchase.
I was not aware of that until the actual report was completed.
Which report?
The Phase 1 environmental.
Gotcha.
The consultants are going to take a look at that today. One of the things we asked them to take a look at.
So that's part of the Phase 2?
It is.
Gotcha. Okay. And so ultimately, how much have we paid for the Phase 2 study? What did that cost?
I don't know that number off the top of my head. I can get that. I can send that to you.
Please do. What was the Phase 1 cost? Do we know that?
Yeah, not off the top of my head. I can send that to you.
And so we know that there's some amount of money potentially demo costs that are in the AACPS budget. Number is unknown, but that would cover demolition of the buildings. How much of a contingency is built into that? What do you guys normally build into that?
Depending on the site, it's anywhere between 5 and 10%.
Okay. So if your fund is 17 million on the appropriation, 10% is 1.7 that you have contingency, but we're also hearing about how much costs are going up to build everything. I think that was on the last bill that we heard, something like that. So that may get eaten up, the contingency, by just inflation and the normal costs. My concern is if we look at this project and we keep going forward, and we say we want to buy this, we're already buying it above market rate, which we're going to get to next. But then on top of that, we've got a 10% contingency with a potential serious environmental issue that may or may not need to be addressed. So to central services, what is your threshold of the level of impact that if it comes back in the phase 2 study and we hear there's all this stuff that needs to be remediated and addressed, what's that number? Is it $1 million? Is it $1.5 million? Is it $2 million? Is it 500,000? How are you going to make that determination? Because again, I don't get another bite at this apple.
Again, I'm going to have to wait until I see the phase 2 report. I really can't guesstimate or estimate what those costs are going to be.
But you don't even have a rubric where you all would say, like, if it's greater than this percent, we have a problem?
I think it depends on what type of issue is found in the phase 2. So the vapor issue that was noted included 2 different things. One was soil contamination associated with the
top level of the soils. I saw that. Yep.
But it was removed in a prior phase on that adjacent property. And then the second issue was based on petroleum leakage from an unknown contaminant associated with an underground storage tank. All those tanks were removed in the process. And then subsequently, the adjacent property was capped with asphalt. So it all depends on what is found in the phase 2 to determine what that cost could be. What we plan on doing on the site is going to require minimal excavation. It's going to be associated with the buildings that we're going to be putting up, and then we're going to be paving the lot for the buses.
So you think you'll cap a lot of it to the extent that it exists?
I do.
Okay.
And then,
that's a reasonable answer.
And then, I think the depth that we're going to be going with our excavation is not going to be extraordinarily deep. It's only going to be deep enough to put footings in. Okay. If it's petroleum-based contamination, that's something that we're familiar with. We have underground storage tanks. There's a MDE process to close out those tanks, remove any contaminated soils, and deal with that issue. If it becomes a larger issue, that's a conversation that we're going to have with Chris and his team.
Okay. And you think you'll have the phase 2 by the end of the week? Okay. Yes. All right.
Mr. Smith.
I'll be brief. I just wanted to sort of annotate a couple things. One, I know we've been trying to resolve, thank you, Madam Chair, this bus depot issue for over a year now. I think we had another site previously, or maybe longer than that. But I will say that the location is certainly a makes sense location. I'll give you that. The price, I'm certainly not as thrilled with. That more than almost $1 million per acre. It sounds like, which is a lot for an acre. So that definitely gives me pause. Curious what other properties in the county, especially when we're buying another property in the same sort of window. Here's, I think, it's several hundred acres, or certainly more than 7, and it's half the cost. And so the work that is going in with the owner, I mean, how many different developers or offers has he? Do you guys, are you aware of any of? No, there's multiple, but you're not sure of how many there are. Are you?
I know of at least 3 offers that came in. The brokers have a duty of confidentiality,
right, makes sense.
So they're not going to give us all the details, but I do know of at least 3 that came in.
Yeah. If there's any way to get that cost down, you would certainly make me more happier. The parcel is in my district, and I certainly think it's an okay location. But man, that's $1 million an acre is a lot for us to be shelling out for that. But that's my own 2 cents, and I wanted to sort of put that on the record. Thank you.
Ms. Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I assume this is industrially zoned property, which makes it all that much more valuable.
You are correct. And
So it's different than buying open space or preserved land or undeveloped green space.
You are absolutely correct.
And then this is some of the potential environmental mitigation is somewhat almost expected on an industrial site. And we are putting essentially an industrial use onto an industrial site. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. I do appreciate the comment about sort of the supply and demand and the scarcity of industrial land making the cost go up. It's very, it references and highlights other issues in the county where we have scarcity of housing supply, the issue of basic economics 101. So just wanted to put that out there. I know the county executive and I disagree on the issue of supply and demand in the housing market, but this industrial space is hard to come by in the county, and it is very expensive.
Mr. Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So to the cost, the original appraised value of this property was $3.79 million, correct?
You are correct.
Okay. And then somehow the county went back to the appraiser and said, sharpen your pencil, maybe. I don't know what you said, but something happened, and the appraiser came back with a new number, and their new number was $6.95 million was the appraised value, right?
You are correct.
Okay. And then the county said, and we're going to offer the buyer, or the seller, excuse me, as the buyer, $7.65 million because we got to have this property, right?
Not exactly. We submitted our offer before the actual appraisal was completed.
Wait a minute. You submitted an offer on the property before the appraisal was done at a price that was double what the original appraisal was? Walk me through the timing on that.
When we were looking at this property, again, as I stated, there were several other groups who were also bidding on the property. We valued the property first internally.
What was your internal value? Let's start with that.
Our initial internal value, what we thought this property would trade for, would be $7.2 million.
7.2.
Yes.
We're buying it for 7.6. Okay. So your original was 7.2 is what it's worth. So then you all put in an offer, and you put in the offer at 7.6, right? Did you have any appraisals at that point?
The 3.87 appraisal may have been completed at that point in time.
Yeah.
We knew by looking at that 3.8, the first appraisal, that appraiser had could have used better comps.
So then the appraiser went out and added 0.12 acres, and the property doubled in value.
The real reason the property increased in value was because the appraiser actually used, with the second appraisal, comps that were cleared sites versus wooded acre sites. The
Okay.
original appraisal, most of those comps were wooded acre sites. Wooded acre sites are worth less than cleared sites.
So you all internally thought it was worth 7.2. The appraiser, after doing the right comps, came back at 6.9. And yet we're under contract at 7.6 with environmental features that we don't even know what we're going to have to mitigate.
Again,
Sure with the contingency, I got it, but
again, when we put in our offer, we were assuming
county's the
site
best
was clear.
buyer.
Was clear. We were assuming the site was clear and clean. Okay. Once we get the phase 2 environmental report, we'll know if there are costs to mitigate.
okay. So we're going to pay $700,000 over what the appraiser thought the property was worth. Why? I
Again,
get supply and demand, I get it, but I guess other people didn't bid as high as we did, otherwise we wouldn't be under contract. So clearly we valued this more than somebody else.
Can't speak to the other bids. I know the other bids were very close. The seller has confidence in the county that the county can close on the property because the county doesn't have.
County has bottomless pockets. I mean, County can go to taxpayers and take money from them.
For the record, the county does not have bottomless pockets.
I knew you were coming. I knew it was coming. I knew.
My job as budget officer to remind you that.
County has $2.3 billion. We've got plenty of money, right?
That's not bottomless.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Ms. Robbian.
I understand my colleague's frustration that the appraisal was so much lower, but the reality is once the bids have come in, the appraisal almost doesn't matter. The bids are telling you what the property is worth.
Let somebody else buy it.
Well, we need it and we've decided it's still worth it. I mean, we need it. It's been mentioned several times. I mean, I really, really want this property to work out because I know we need it. And we all know that property value in Anne Arundel County is increasing for the same reason in residential property as it is in industrial property. So, it's increasing. That shouldn't be shocking to anyone. And even, a comp that's maybe a year old, could be reflecting very different market conditions than the ones, that are in place now. In fact, we can say that it is reflecting different market conditions because those market conditions said it should sell for 3.9, and now we're up to 7.6. 7.6, that's what we're willing to pay. And apparently the other bids were in the same ballpark.
Yes.
I feel like the appraisals don't matter. The bids tell us what the property value is.
Mr. Smith.
Can we talk after, there's these two properties that I'm aware of in Anne Arundel County. Not saying that I don't want to, you guys are down the pipeline on this one. One's off Fort Dix Road, and one is actually down the street from there, that are both similarly 6 acres or greater, that I'm sure are not going for that price. But I'd love to just show you where those properties are, because I've had conversations with those landowners when we were doing comp rezoning, and they were talking about some variation or utilization of it. So just for future use, maybe not for this, but I want to show you, point you towards a couple pieces of land that I think could serve a similar purpose or other purposes.
Mr. Volpe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What is this use? I understand what the end use is. It's a bus facility for AACPS, but in our code, in the development section of the code, in the zoning section of the code, what specifically is the title of what this property will be used for in the development application submitted to planning and zoning?
As far as like the zoning?
Yeah. Just trying to understand why it has to be an industrially zoned property. Because generally speaking, when government does anything, we say, well, we're not really going to make you do that.
Yeah. Understood. I think prior interactions with the county council on property that we were looking at, property was probably not the best use, especially adjacent to residential.
I understand, but there's nothing that requires that the school system have an industrially zoned property and use that for a bus facility. So to my colleague's point about the scarcity of W land, right, industrially zoned land, you don't actually have to use this type of a zoned property, do you? You could use any property. What?
Madam Chair.
I'm just asking a question.
We already determined through a very public debate with this council that another residentially, commercially zoned property, we just went through this.
Yeah, but that was
So
that
now
property.
they've found a property that is both situated ideally for this use, where it isn't going to interrupt commercial traffic flow or residential traffic flow, and the community surrounding it isn't going to freak out like the last one that happened in Millersville. And now we're saying, oh my gosh, no, we can't buy industrial property where an industrial use should go because it might be more expensive. What do we want, council? We're trying to fulfill a service that is much needed by the school system to park and deploy buses. That is an industrial type use. And now this council is saying, oh, I don't know, that doesn't sound like the right property, it's too expensive. We already went through this with another property that was probably less expensive, but not as ideally located. This is getting out of control here today, and I think we need to dial it back and decide if we're going to take a hold and wait for the environmental to come through and make a decision so we can move this process along. Your interrogation should be winding up.
These are questions, not interrogation. But But that said, I think that's a totally different issue. The idea that that particular property, this council looked at and said wasn't the appropriate place to put this based on concerns from the community is an entirely different discussion than whether we should pay $700,000 over the appraised price and $1 million an acre for a piece of industrially zoned property for this exact use. So I think that's a policy question that we as a council, who are the final fiscal authority, should be asking. So that's why I'm just asking to make sure I get on the record. You don't have to put the bus depot in a W industrial zoned property, do you?
We are exempt from zoning.
There you go. Thank you.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a parliamentary question. There's some amendments that were proposed. There's discussion of a possible hold. Can we, when is the appropriate time? Should there be a motion to hold it? Would it be after said amendments or before?
Before we do the amendments. So when we're done with the discussion part, that would be
Thank you.
the appropriate time. So I just want to add, so back in 2019 with the school system, we had a full transportation study done with an outside consultant with recommendations, and one of the, if not the top, one of the top 3 recommendations urging them to do was to create a new bus facility, because the conditions at the existing bus facility, I believe in Millersville, are just not adequate for what's going on and really not conducive for the staff who works there. And that was 5-6 years ago, and that was a top priority then, and those conditions weren't good before then. So the longer we delay this, the more we're doing a disservice to our staff and to the service that we can provide to people. So yes, we do need to move forward. It's unfortunate that commercial things, I would go back to the Key Bridge that they just announced last week is going to be many times more the cost than it would be, because construction costs have gone up over 70% in the past year or two. That's what we're looking at for property and construction now. So the longer we delay on something, the more expensive things could be. So, but I think that ends the discussion. If somebody would like to make a motion, Ms. Ledbetter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to hold Bill 3425.
I will second that motion.
Point of order.
Yes.
Is that going to include the resolution or not? Because there's both the bill and the resolution, right?
I misspoke. Should have
Okay,
said
well-
Resolution 3425.
Okay, got you.
Okay.
Are we holding 8925 too, or are we going to have to do that separately?
We're not there
Okay,
yet.
got you.
So, all right. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll for the motion to hold?
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter. Oh, sorry. We need to hold the public hearing. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm
So
sorry.
if you all can
Okay.
redo your
No problem.
your motion to hold
We
in
will go
second,
back.
we can go back. Sorry.
I withdraw my
All right.
second and my
Okay.
vote.
All right. Okay.
Withdraw my motion.
We will now open the public hearing on resolution number 3425. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, Madam Chair. We received 3 pieces which were shared with the council, added to the record, and posted to the website.
Okay, no one signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on resolution number 3425? Seeing no movement, the public hearing on resolution number 3425 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution number 3425.
Resolution number 3425, resolution approving the use of funds from Advanced Land Acquisition Capital Project for the purchase of real properties in Edgewater, Maryland from Glebe Bay LLP and Artabella Fox, and New Harmons, Maryland from Craig A. Mercer.
Okay, Ms. Ledbetter.
Would like to have motion to hold Resolution 3425.
I second that motion.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on that motion.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to hold resolution number 3425 to December 15th has passed.
Okay, Madam Secretary, please read the title of bill number 8925.
Bill number 8925, an ordinance concerning current expense budget, fund transfer, and supplementary appropriations, video lottery impact aid, South River Heights Special Community Benefit District, capital budget and program, Advanced Land Acquisition Capital Project.
Mr. Hunt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ethan Hunt for the administration. With me, I have Chris Trumbauer, our budget officer, and Lori Blair Klossmeyer, our deputy county attorney. This bill is to make transfers of appropriations and supplemental appropriations to the current expense budget and capital budget It transfers $96,100 from the Video Lottery Terminal Local Impact Aid Fund, Public Libraries, to Video Lottery Local Impact Aid Fund, County Executive Video Lottery Terminal Community Grants, contributions, and other. It makes a supplementary appropriation of revenue to the South River Heights Special Community Benefits District in the amount of $38,075. You may remember we discussed this at the work session. The SCBD was out of compliance with state and county law. They've since updated their paperwork and come into compliance, so we are now releasing the funds to them. And then there is a transfer of $1.1 million from the CAO contingency fund to the Office of Finance for the Advanced Land Acquisition Capital Project. We're happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? Mr. Fulton.
Hi. So just to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, in a budget where we struggle between cuts and making discretionary decisions to scrape together a couple $1 million worth of money that we can use for things that we think is important, the county has been able to find $2.1 million, 1.1 from the CAO fund and 1.1 million from PAYGO that we can apply to this particular project. Am I reading the room correctly?
Chris Strohmeyer, Budget Officer. You're asking specifically about the $1.1 million transfer from CO contingency over to...
Well, and the other one, the PAYGO one. The PAYGO is sitting there in non-departmental, so that's 1.1
That's the same.
There, right? Oh, sorry. So it's just the 1.1. You're moving it to PAYGO. Now I'm understanding better.
Yes. Okay. So it's if you have the fiscal note in front of you, council member, it's reconciled there.
Okay. So then, the question still stands, but at a smaller number. The 1.1 is there. We're not worried about that for snow removal this year. We're not worried about that for other things that could come up between now and the end of the year, at the end of the fiscal year. We can use that for land acquisition.
On the contrary, I'm worried about that. Of course I am.
Okay.
I think what you're seeing, and this goes back to the conversation we had at the prior resolution, acquiring this property is a priority, and the administration felt if we didn't act to get this property, we wouldn't know what would follow after that. Is there another parcel out there? If we could get it, would it be even more expensive? So there was a strategic decision to act to enable this council to have the ability to approve the purchase of the property we just had that prior discussion on. So nobody loves the idea of dipping into the contingency fund, but to be candid, that's what the contingency fund is for. It's for unexpected and unforeseen costs.
As determined by?
I don't understand the premise.
By the county executive, right? The CAO contingency fund is there to be used as seen fit by the county executive.
With county council approval.
Understood, but
it's a two-way process. We can't spend CAO contingency funds without the express legislative approval of this body as the final fiscal authority.
Got it. Wouldn't it make sense to hold this until we figure out what we're doing about it?
It would make a lot of sense to hold this until we figure out what we're going to do.
So you support a hold?
It wouldn't, let me put it this way. If we don't end up needing the extra money for the parcel we just discussed, then you probably don't want to transfer 1.1 million from the CAO contingency fund. And since we're going to wait 2 weeks to find out the answer of that environmental assessment, I would not, as budget officer, I wouldn't oppose putting this on the same track. How's that?
Agreeing with you, Mr.
He just
Volpe.
won't say it, but he's close. I see. I got it.
Thank you, Ms. Rodvian.
We will now open the public hearing on Bill number 8925. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Okay, no one signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on Bill number 8925? Seeing no movement, the public hearing on Bill number 8925 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 8925.
Bill number 8925, an ordinance concerning current expense budget, fund transfer, and supplementary appropriations, Video Lottery Impact Aid, South River Heights Special Community Benefit District, Capital Budget and Program, Advanced Land Acquisition Capital Project.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question of you all before you make any motions? Chris Trummer, our budget officer. I know that there was some interest among the community on the SCBD transfer, and if this is in fact held, if there are any questions, would you let me know now so we can communicate that to the community? Because I want to be able to tell them, don't worry about your part of this. So I'm just opening if you have any questions for us to pass along. Otherwise, we'll communicate to the district that this is a simple delay for another part of the bill, if that's okay. I'm seeing some nods. Thank you.
Mr. Volkey, if you're liking.
Making a motion when he's done talking.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I'm
Right.
confirming what he said because I nodded like everybody else.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we're all okay there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mr. Volkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to hold the bill until our December 15th meeting.
Ledbetter, second.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the motion to hold.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to hold Bill number 8925 until the December 15th meeting has passed.
All right. Is there any other business any council member would like to bring before the county council at this time? No? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Okay, the motion carries. The county council is adjourned to the public until Tuesday, December 9th, 2025 at 9 a.m. for our legislative work session here in our chambers. Bump. There we go.